Hi, today we're looking at Functional Skills Maths Level 1. We've got the NCFE exam board, and this is past paper P001838. We're going to start with the non-calculator section. Activity 1, Enterprise Project. Hardik is taking part in an enterprise project at college. His group is selling boxes of sweets and chocolates. They make the boxes out of cardboard. The cardboard they have is 15 inches long. Use this rule to convert 15 inches to centimetres. So you start with the length in inches, multiply by 2.54, and you get the length in centimetres. Right, so we've got the length in inches, that's what's been given to us, of 15. So I'm going to write this up here, 15. And we want to multiply it by 2.54. So I'm going to ignore the point for now and just do it as 15 times 254. So we're going to start with 5 times 4, or 4 times 5 if that's easier. 5, 10, 15, 20. Then we've got 5 times 5, which is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Add the 2 makes it 27. And then 2 times 5, which is 10, plus the 2 is 12. So we've got 1,270. Now we're on to the 1, the tens. So we can put a 0 in for the units. And we can say 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 5 is 5. And 1 times 2 is 2. Now all we need to do is add these two together. So 0 plus 0 is 0. 7 plus 4 is 11. Put the unit, carry the 10. 2 plus 5 is 7. Plus 1 is 8. And 1 plus 2 is 3. Now, if you remember, we needed to multiply by 2.54, but we actually multiplied by 254. So we took out that decimal point. We've got 2 decimal places here, so we need to put the decimal point back in 1, 2 places. So we end up with 38.1, which we can write in our answer box. (1B). The group decorates the boxes using ribbon. They use 115 centimetres of ribbon for each box. There are 100 boxes. How many centimetres of ribbon will the group need? So we've got 115 for each one, and there's 100 of them. So we're going to multiply it by 100. Okay, well, let's think. We've got 115. If we multiply by 10, we put 1 0 on the end. Multiply by 100, you put 2 zeros on the end. Counting 1, 2, 3 for a comma. So we've got 11,500 centimetres. (1C). Hardip and Jessica sold 250 boxes of sweets and chocolates in total. The ratio of the number of boxes Hardip sold to the number of boxes Jessica sold is 1 to 4. So every time Hardip sold 1, Jessica sold 4. 20% of the boxes Hardip sold contained chocolates. 15% of the boxes Jessica sold contained sweets. Use this information to complete the table. Write the correct number of boxes in each space. So we've got a little table down here. Now, we can move down in a moment. I'm just going to take the first bit of information, which is that they sold 250 boxes of sweets and chocolates in total. So I can write that down in our total box. And now we don't need that line. So we've got all the information we need, we can see. Okay, so we've got to fill all these boxes. So we need to know how many Hardip sold, how many Jessica sold, what the split was between sweets and chocolates. So we're just going to start in the order that the information's been given. So we've already put in that we had 250 boxes of sweets and chocolates in total. Now we're told the ratio of the number of boxes Hardip sold to the number of boxes Jessica sold is 1 to 4. So let's draw a little ratio table for that. So we've got Hardip, Jessica, and then we're going to have a total column. And we've got the ratio of 1 for Hardip, 4 for Jessica. So every time he sold 1, she sold 4. So in total, 1 plus 4 is 5. But we know that actually in total, there were 250. So if we want to find out how many Hardip and Jessica sold, we first need to see, well, how many times this first row have we got in this row here with the 250? So we want to say, well, 5 times something gives us 250. So we're going to work backwards. We're going to say, okay, let's do 250 and divide it by 5. So 5 can't go into 2 because 2 is less than 5. But 5 into 25, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, that's 5 times. 5 into 0 goes 0 times. So we need to multiply the top row by 50 to get the new row. Well, 1 times 50, nice and easy, is 50. 4 times 50, well, what we can do actually, 4 times 50 is we can say, well, 4 times 5, well, that's 5, 10, 15, 20 is 20. And well, if it's 50, we just add a 0 on the end. So Jessica sold 200. So now we can put these in here. So we've got 200 for Jessica, 50 for Hardip. We've got our totals. Right, now 20% of the boxes Hardip sold contained chocolates. So we want 20% of 50. Okay. Right, well, what we can do is say, well, I know how to do 10%. Because 10%, you just take the 0 off. So 10% of 50 is 5. So 20%, well, 20 is 2 lots of 10, or double 10. So we double the 5, or 5 plus 5, we got 10. So Hardip had 10 boxes of chocolates. The boxes of sweets is going to be the difference because we need something to make this up to 50. So it's going to be 50 minus 10. 0 minus 0 is 0. 5 minus 1 is 4. So we got 40 sweets for Hardip. Okay, now for Jessica, 15% of the boxes she sold contained sweets. So we want 15% of, and remember she had 200 in total. Okay, so again we can think about how do we do that. I'm going to start with 10% again. Because 10% of 200, we just take the 0 off, is going to be 20. 5%, well 5 is half of 10. So we want half of 20, which is going to be 10. So if you think 10 plus 5 gives us our 15%, so we need our 20 plus 10. 0 plus 0 is 0, 2 plus 1 is 3. So that was boxes of sweets for Jessica, so that's a 30. Now chocolates is going to be whatever we need to make it up to 200. So we can think of it as 200 minus 30. So 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 minus 3 we can't do, can't take 3 away from nothing. So you could carry 1 over, reduce that to 1, make that 10. Or you could just say, actually, we've got 20 minus 3. So let's just count back from 20. So we'd have 19, 18, 17. So we've got 170 chocolates for Jessica. Now for our totals, well, let's add them up. 0 plus 0 is 0. 4 plus 3 is 7. And for the chocolates, actually I could have written this, let's do it so it's above it, so it's lined up. 0 plus 0, 0. 1 plus 7 is 8. And 1 plus nothing is 1. Okay, and if we want to check, we can make sure that 70 sweets plus 180 chocolates still adds up to 250. 5 marks there, quite a lot going on. But if you do it step by step, using the information they've given, it shouldn't be too bad. Okay, we've got 1D. Each sweet is wrapped. Each wrapper measures 5.1 centimetres by 7.62 centimetres. Hardip wants to work out the area of one wrapper. Round, keep it here, round both numbers to the nearest whole number. Use your values to estimate the answer to 5.1 times 7.62. So they don't want you to work this out. They don't want an accurate calculation. They want you to round them. So if we're going to round 5.1, we're going to say is approximately equal to, that's the whole number. So we look at the next digit. If it's less than 5, we can just get rid of it. So it's just going to be 5 centimetres. And 7.62 is approximately equal to. So again, we want the whole number. So we look at the next digit, the 6. If it's 5 or more, we round up. So that's going to become 8 centimetres. So we want 5 times 8. Or you can do 8 times 5. That's it, probably easier. 8 times 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. And there we go. But let's just make sure we check our units. He wants to work out the area. So we've got to put in our centimetres. And it's going to be centimetres squared for area. Area. Okay, important to have those units as well. Okay, 1E. There are 4 other groups taking part in the project. These are the amounts that the 5 groups have raised. So Group A raised £453.50. This is what the others raised. Hardip works out the mean amount for the 5 groups. He thinks that the difference between this mean amount and the amount raised by Group C is more than £350. Is he correct? Okay, so what we need to do, first of all, is we need to think, well, how do we work out the mean? Well, the mean is calculated as the total divided by the frequency, or how many we've got. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to work out the total of all of these, and then we're going to compare that with just the amount raised by Group C. Okay, so to get the total, I'm going to write one above the other here, £453.50, £894.75. We do need to include the £952.50, £540 and £290. So 0 plus 5 is 5, plus a load of zeros is still 5. 5 plus 7, but actually I've got 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 7 is 17, and zeros, so we can put 7 and then carry the 1. We've then got 3 plus 4 is 7, plus 2 is 9, 0, 0, and plus 1 is 10. Bring our decimal point down. 5 plus 9 is 14, plus another 5 is 19, plus 4 is 23, plus 9 is 32, plus 1 gives us 33. And 4 plus 8 is 12, plus 9 is 21, plus 5 is 26, plus 2 is 28, plus 3 is 31. So we've got 3,130 and 75p. Right, we want the difference between that and, oh sorry, no, that's the total, isn't it? So we've got 3,130.75, and then we need to divide that by 5. So let's do that with the bus stop method. So 5 can't go into 3. because 5 is bigger than 3. So we say 5 into 31. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. That's 6 times and 1 left over. 5 into 13. We've got 5, 10. That's 2. And then 11, 12, 13. Remainder 3. 5 into 30. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. That's 6 times. Decimal point. 5 into 7 goes 1. Remainder 2. And 5 into 25. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. 5 times. Okay, so we want the difference between £952.50, because that's the total for Group C, and the overall mean, which is the £626.15. So 0 minus 5, we can't take 5 away from nothing, so reduce that by 1 and pass the 1 across, so we've got 10 minus 5 is 5, 4 minus 1 is 3, 2 minus 6, again we can't take 6 away from something smaller than it, so reduce that by 1 and make that 12 minus 6, which is 6, 4 minus 2 is 2, 9 minus 6 is 3. So we've got £326.35, which is less than 350. He thinks the difference is more than that, so is he correct? No, he's not. And that's the end of the non-calculator section. Okay, so now we are on to the calculator section. Activity 2, cleaning business. 2A, Abby runs a cleaning business. 7/12 of her clients have a visit every week. Write 7/12 in words. Well, 7/12. That always looks wrong, but that's correct. Okay, don't worry if you've got a little spelling mistake, as long as I can see that's what you're trying to write. (2B). Abby has 24 clients who live locally. This is 1/3 of her total clients. How many clients does Abby have in total? So if this is 1/3, well, the second third would be another 24, and the third third would be another 24. So we can add them up, or you can think of that as 24 times 3. Either way, you can use your calculator and get a total of 72 clients. Okay, 2C. Abby leaves her house at 9:19 a.m. She drives 3 miles to her first cleaning appointment. She spends 1 hour and 15 minutes at this appointment. Abby then drives 12 miles to her second appointment. She drives at an average speed of 30 miles per hour on both journeys. Abby needs to be at her second appointment by 11 a.m. How many minutes late will Abby be for the second appointment? Use this rule, distance in miles divided by the speed in miles per hour gives you the time in hours. Okay, so what we're trying to do is we know what time she left her house, we know what time she's supposed to be there, so we want to work out what time she actually arrived so we can see how late she is. Well, we know how long she spends at the appointment, so we need to work out how long is the driving taking her. Well, we can combine these two bits of driving together. So we've got 3 miles and then 12 miles. So in total, we've got 15 miles. So we can put that in here. So we've got 15 miles. We want to divide it by the speed. She drives at a speed of 30 miles per hour, so divide it by 30. So 15 divided by 30 gives us 0.5 hours, or half an hour. Well, an hour is 60 minutes, and half of 60 is 30 minutes. Right, so let's start adding up our time. We're starting at 9:19. And then she spends an hour and 15 minutes there. So we want to add on 1 hour and 15 minutes. Okay, well, let's do the minutes first. So we've got 19 plus 15, which is 34. And 9 plus 1 is 10. So that takes us up to 10:34, and that's still going to be AM. Now we've got to add on the driving time. We know that's 30 minutes, so we want to add on 30. Okay, well, 34 plus 30 takes us up to 64. But we can't go over 60 in an hour. We've only got 60 minutes. So we want to take off 60, because that's going to be an extra hour. So that's going to take us from 10 up to 11. And we're left with 4. Okay, so we added the 30. So it's taking it to 64, but we have to carry over the 60 so we increase the hours by 1, and we're left with 4 minutes. Now, she needed to be at her second appointment by 11 AM, so we want the difference. So 11:04 minus 11:00, well, it's just going to be 4 minutes. Okay, 2D. Abby collects supplies from the shop. Which of these is the net of a cuboid box? Right, we've got A, B, C and D. Okay, so cuboid box. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but imagine it would be something like that, okay? So straight away we can see A doesn't look right, because if we put these all together, we'd need a square at the end, but these are all rectangles, so it's not A. Let's forget about that one. Well, B, well, these could wrap round. Actually, if I do a dotted so you can sort of see behind it as well. This could be the top and the front and the base and the back wrap round, and then we'd have 2 bits would be the sides. So this one's looking possible. Let's check the others. We'll see if these wrap round. Well, that's not going to fit on here. You can see that if that matches, it's just too long, so it can't be C. And similarly on D, we could wrap these round, but our squares, we'd have both on the same side. We'd need one square over here. So we were right. B looks the best one. Okay, 2E. Abby buys a bucket for 398 pence. Convert this amount from pence into pounds. You might be able to just do it yourself, but you can think, well, there's 100p in a pound, so we do 398 divided by 100, which gives us £3.98. 2F. Abby uses 4 bottles of cleaner a week. She buys the bottles in boxes. Each box contains 48 bottles. She has 3 boxes. How many weeks will 3 boxes last? Okay, so that's quite a bit of information. What we want to do is work out, first of all, how many boxes have we got in total? So she's got 3 boxes and there's 48 in each. 3 times 48 gives us 144 bottles. She uses 4 every week. So we want 144 divided by 4 to tell us how many weeks, which gives us 36 weeks, which we can write in the answer box. 2G. Abby has a trolley for her cleaning products. The dimensions of the trolley are 45 centimetres wide, 54 centimetres long, and 65 centimetres high. Below is a plan view of the trolley, so looking straight down onto the trolley. Mark the dimensions on the plan view. So if we're looking straight down on something, we wouldn't be able to see how high it is, so we can ignore that. What we would be able to see is how wide and how long. We don't know which way, but, well, 45 is less than 54, so it's going to be on the shorter side. And 54 on the longer side. (2H). Abby asks her clients about the cleaning services they would like. 7 out of 20 people said they would like their windows cleaned. Abby thinks that 7 over 20, or 7/20ths, is over 30%. Is she correct? Show how you decide. Well, what we can do is 7 divided by 20, and then to turn it into a percentage, we're going to multiply it by 100. So 7 divided by 20 times 100 is 35%, which is over 30%. So is she correct? Yes, she is. Activity 3. Meal subscription boxes. Fahima wants to sign up to a meal subscription box. She looks at the prices from 2 different companies. Deal A, Ready Fresh. £37.60 for 8 meals, £5 off. Deal B, Farmer's Deal. £31.60 for 6 meals, £10 off. Which company offers the best price for 1 meal? Right, so, first thing we want to do is take off our discounts. Okay, so if we do deal A, we can do £37.60 minus £5 gives us £32.60. This is for 8 meals, so we want to divide it by 8, which gives us 4.075, but this is money, so we're going to have to round this. So we only want 2 decimal places for money. We look at the 2 digits, 07. The next digit is a 5, so if it's 5 or more we round up, so it's going to be £4.08. Now we can look at deal B. So we've got £31.60, but we've got to take £10 off. Which gives £21. Oh, right, £21.60. That's for 6 meals though, so we're going to divide that by 6. Which gives 3.6, but because it's money, that's going to be £3.60. So which company offers the best price for 1 meal? It's going to be the smaller amount. So it's going to be this one here, which is the Farmer's Deal. Okay, 3B. Easy Meals is offering a 25% discount on their boxes. 1 box costs £34.60. Calculate the discount on 1 box. So we want 25%, or 25 out of 100, of £34.60. Now you can use the percent button. I've said this before in my videos if you want. I just don't. It's just not the way I've done things, but it should give you the same answer. You just have to type it in. You'd have to type the £34.60 first and then do percent. In fact, I'll do it both ways. Let's work it this way. So 25 divided by 100 times £34.60 gives us £8.65. If you wanted to do it the percent way, you would say £34.60 times 25% gives the same answer. I don't know, never got comfortable doing it that way. I just prefer to turn it into a decimal first. But either way is fine. 3C. The table shows the number of new customers that the two companies have gained over the last 3 years. So Ready Fresh, in 2018 they had 220 new customers, then 370, and we've got the same or similar figures for Easy Meals. Represent the information in a bar chart. Okay, so they've given us the graph paper. So we know we're going to need 3 columns, but actually we're going to have them split between Ready Fresh and Easy Meals. So we really want 6 columns. Okay, so let's have a look down at the bottom here. Well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 big boxes. So I think what I'm going to do is make this the year, and I'm going to do 2 boxes for each year. So this would be 2018, that's going to be here and here. Then the next 2 boxes will be for 2019, and then these 2 will be for 2020. But we're going to have a separate column for each company. Now we've got to look at what scale we're going to use up the side. So let's see the highest value we've got. 200, 450, 490. That's the biggest value. So we need to go at least as high as 490. So maybe if we're starting at 0, we could go up 100 for every big box. Let's see, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Yeah, that makes sense. You want to make sure you use at least half of the graph paper. So you don't want it too small, but you don't want it too big. Okay, and that is number of customers. So put the label on. Number of, in fact it's new customers, I think. Right, so for 2018 we've got 220 for Ready Fresh. Here's 200. We've got 10 boxes, so each of these is going to be worth 10. So 210, 220. So that's for Ready Fresh. And then for Easy Meals, we've got 280. So we're going to have a separate column that goes up. This would be 250 in the middle, 260, 270, 280. Now normally I'd do all the other lines in at the end, but I'm going to do this now because I want you to see how I'm going to show the difference between the companies. And what I'm going to do is I am just going to, for Ready Fresh, I'm just going to do a little bit of shading. Okay, so what we will have up here, we'll do a little key, and in our key we'll have, if it's shaded in like that, well then it must be Ready Fresh. And if we leave it blank, well that's going to be our Easy Meals. Okay, so now we can tell the difference. So let's put the next bars in. We need 370 for Ready Fresh. So that's 2019 now. So 370, here's 300, 350, so 360, 370 is going to be here. And Easy Meals, we've got 490. I did draw my key in a really daft place. So 410, 420, 430, 440, 450, 460, 470, 480, 490. Now what I would do would draw the key somewhere else. I really didn't plan that well. Okay, they might forgive me in the exam. If it was the exam, I would redo it. Okay, but we can draw lines here to show that's Ready Fresh. Then we've got 2 more. For Ready Fresh, we need 450 in 2020. So that's this column here. 450 is going to be up to here. So put the lines across. You can still see the key, so it's not terrible. And 330 for easy meals. So that's our last column here. 300, 10, 20, 30. Right. Okay, so there it is, but do plan better than I did and put your key somewhere up here where you're not going to be writing over it. Okay, 3D. Easy meals. Actually, move it up so we can see the dimensions. Yeah. Easy meals have two differently sized boxes. The boxes have these dimensions. Here's box A with the dimensions and box B with the dimensions. They need the box with the bigger volume for Hima's order. Which box has the bigger volume? Well, a volume of a cuboid is calculated as the length times the width times the height. So for box A, it's going to be 20 times 15 times 12. And of course, it doesn't matter which order you multiply them because they're all multiplying. And we get 3,600, and that's centimetres cubed. And then for box B, we've got 22 times 16 times 10. Which gives us 3,520 centimetres cubed. Which has the bigger volume? Well, this one's bigger than this one. We can put 3,600 is greater than 3,520. So we want box A. (3E). The box has this logo on it. Mark any lines of symmetry on this shape. So a line of symmetry is a line which you draw through the shape, which splits it into two equal pieces when you fold it in half, or like a mirror image. So the only way we can sort of reflect the shape is if we went right through the middle like that. If you put a mirror on there, that would perfectly reflect down into the bottom. 3F. The probability of the food delivery being early is 1/4. The probability of the food delivery being late is 7/25. Is Fahima's next delivery more likely to be early or late? Well, instead of being fractions, let's turn them into percentages. So we're going to calculate them and then multiply them by 100. Okay, so 1/4 just means 1 divided by 4. And then multiply it by 100 to get the percentage. 25%. You could leave it as a decimal, but I think it's easy to compare when they're percentages. So 7 divided by 25 multiplied by 100 is equivalent to 28%. So this one's bigger, so it's more likely to be late. (3G). On the website, each meal is rated by customers. Fahima looks at the ratings for one of the meals. So we had a 10, an 8, a 9, a 7, a 5, all these others. What's the range of these ratings? So the range is calculated as the difference between the biggest number and the smallest number. So the biggest we've got is 10. Smallest we've got is 3. Yeah, 3 is the smallest. So we can put range equals biggest minus smallest, which is 10 minus 3. You can use a calculator, but hopefully you'll know that that's 7. Activity 4, Festival Cleanup. 4A. A team of volunteers are cleaning up after a festival. There were 5,450 tents at the festival. Write 5,450 in words. So 5,000. You can even put a comma in there to remind you you've done that bit. And then 450. (4b). The rubbish is separated and collected for recycling. The table shows information about the weight of rubbish collected. So we've got the amount recycled in tonnes and the different materials. So 63 tonnes of paper, 77 tonnes of cans, and 40 tonnes of plastic. Complete the pie chart to represent this data. Right, well, what we want to know is in a pie chart, the total number of degrees is 360 degrees. So if we're going to represent these figures in the pie chart, instead of totaling 180, we want to get them to total 360. And hopefully you'll notice that 180 is half of 360. Okay. So if we want to get these to being out of 360, we just need to double them all. Multiply them by 2. So 63 tonnes becomes 126 degrees. 77 tonnes becomes 154 degrees. And 40 tonnes becomes 80 degrees. And if we add these all up, they should give 360 degrees. Great, so we're going to use this now to complete our pie chart, which is on here. So what was the first one we've got? We need 126 degrees for paper. So we're going to need our protractor. And we're going to be starting on 0 here. So I need the crosshairs in the middle and my 0 line going straight up. And we want 126 degrees. So we start on 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, all the way around, 120. That would be 125, so 126 is going to be there. Okay, so this was paper. Now the next section we need is for cans, and that's 154 degrees. But now we're starting from this line, so this is going to be our 0. Now I don't mind doing it upside down. If you're not comfortable with that, you can turn your page round. But we've lined this up, so we're starting on 0 now from here. We want 154 degrees, so we're going to go 10, 20, 30, 40. Still on the outside, 150's here. 51, 152, 153, 154 is right there. So that is going to be our cans. So whatever's left is going to be our plastic, and it should be 80 degrees. Now what we can do is we can check, so we can line this up here. We got it on 0, go round, there you go, bang on 80 degrees. If you're 1 or 2 degrees out, don't worry about it, so long as it's, as I say, no more than 2 degrees. Okay. 4C. Last year, the festival had 420 volunteers. This year, the festival has 635 volunteers. The festival website says, this year we have 40% more volunteers than last year. Is the website correct? Show how you decide. Well, if we want to know the percentage increase or the percentage more, first we need to work out is what number more is it? So it's now 635, or this year, it was 420. So what is that increase? And that's 215. So if we want to work that out as a percentage of the original amount, it's going to be 215 out of 420 that we started with, and then multiply it by 100 to turn it into a percent. So 215 divided by 420 multiplied by 100 gives us 51. And let's do it to just the nearest whole number. The next digit is a 1, so we can just keep it as 51%. The website said we have 40% more. Well, 51% is not equal to 40%. So is it correct? No, it's not. You could argue, you could say, well, it's got more than 40%, so that's okay. But if we keep it strictly, is it 40% more? No, it's not, because it's 51%. 4D. 30 volunteers clean up one section of the site. Each volunteer keeps a record of how many bags of rubbish they collect in one day. So one person collects 11, another one collects 22. Use this data to create a grouped frequency table. Right, and we've got, they've started it for us here. Okay, so bags of rubbish. So we've got between 0 and 10, 11 and 20, 21 and 30, or over 30. So we want to count how many of these numbers fall into each category. So let's count how many are between 0 and 10. None on the top row, none in the middle row. We've got one here, just one. How many between 11 and 20? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. Between 21 and 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Well, quite a few. And then over 30 should be any that we haven't ticked. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Now, they did say there were 30 of them, but it's always good to check. So let's add them all up. Make sure we get 30. Yes, we do. (4E). This rectangular area was used for parking. Fence panels were put up around the area. There was a gap of 4 metres between the fence panels for cars to enter and exit. So that must be this gap here. So we've got 52 metres across, 34 metres down, and this gap. The volunteers are taking down all the fence panels. Each panel is 2 metres long. How many panels do they need to take down? You must show all your working. So what we want to do, we want to know the perimeter. We're not worried about the area because it's panels, so it's just the outside. So we know we've got 34 metres here, 52 metres across. Down here is going to be the same as that side. Now at the bottom, it's not going to be exactly the same because we've got this 4 metre gap. So we want the 52 minus the 4 metre gap, which gives us 48 metres. So the perimeter is going to be 34 plus 52 plus another 34 plus 48. Which is 168 metres. But we don't want the perimeter, we want to know how many panels. Each panel is 2 metres long, so we can divide that by 2, which gives us 84 panels. And we can write down here. 4F. The volunteers have this scale diagram of the festival site. Yeah, so there it is. And we're told that 2 centimetres represents 250 metres. Now we need to turn over for the actual question. The volunteers clean up the whole festival site. How many square kilometres have they cleaned up? Right, so we're going to work out the area. So what we're going to need to do is measure this. Now, if this is the whole site, I'm going to measure it across and we get 12 centimetres there. And then let's measure it down this way. Oh, my ruler's not quite long enough, so that would be 15 to there. And then we've got an extra 16, 17, 18. So 18 centimetres down that way. Okay. Now, before I work out the area, what I'm going to do is turn those 12 and 18 centimetres into metres. Okay, so 2 centimetres represents 250 metres. So remember, we had 12 centimetres across. In fact, we can show it on here as well. That's 12 centimetres. Okay, now every 2 represents 250 metres. So if we divide it by 2, 12 divided by 2, we've got 6. So we've got 6 lots of 250. Which means we've got 1,500 metres. Okay, and I'm going to draw a little sketch down here. Okay, so we've got 1,500 metres across. So how many have we got going up? Well, we know that we had 18 centimetres, so we get 18 centimetres. Again, we're going to divide that by 2, because we've got 2 centimetres for every 250 metres, which gives us 9. And then we're going to multiply that by 250 to tell us how many metres we've got. So 2,250 metres. That's going to be this measurement here. So the area is going to be these two multiplied by each other. Doesn't matter which order you put them. I've already got that in my calculator, so I'll leave that there and multiply it by 1,500. And we get 3375000. Okay, now that's metres squared. Now, what they've actually asked for is how many square kilometres. So what we can do, because we know that there's 1,000 metres in 1 kilometre, if we want to convert this into square kilometres, we need to divide it by 1,000, but that's for one dimension. We then need to divide it by 1,000 again. Okay, and if you do that, you'll see you get divide by 1,000 and then divide by 1,000 again. We get 3.375 kilometres squared, or square kilometres. Okay, that's if you've done it on metres. What you could do, I'm going to do an alternative. This is probably better, to be honest, if you do it this way and say, well, I've still got my sketch, but I'm actually going to turn this into kilometres already. So let's divide this by 1,000. So 2,250 divided by 1,000, you get 2.25. So this is 2.25 kilometres. And if we divide this by 1,000, so it's converting 1,500 metres into kilometres, we get 1.5 kilometres. So instead of doing this big calculation and then turning it into square kilometres, we can turn our measurements into kilometres first and then just say, well, we want 2.25 times 1.5, or 1.5 times 2.25, which gives 3.375. There you go, same answer. So normally I'd do it this way. I don't know, I did it this way first, but just to show it doesn't matter which way you do it. Just got to be, the reason I prefer this method is because otherwise, if you go from metres, you need to divide by 1,000 twice because you're doing one for each dimension. So this can get quite messy and complicated. So if you remember, turn it into the units that you want first and then multiply them together. So that's the end of the video. I hope you found it helpful. Please like, subscribe to the channel, turning notifications on to find out when I upload more videos, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.